When I moved out of my old apartment, I didn't think much about the security camera. I bought it after a package went missing from the lobby. It wasn't expensive. Just a small indoor camera that sent motion alerts to my phone and saved short clips to the cloud. It sat in the top corner of my bedroom, angled toward the door. From that angle, you could see most of the room. It's the bed, the doorway, and part of the window. On my last day while I was packing, I unplugged it from the outlet. I didn't take it down. I remember standing there with a box in my hands, looking up at it, thinking I'd come back later to grab it once the movers were gone, and the apartment was quiet. I never did. 3 months passed. By then I was settled into my new place. New routine, new neighborhood. The old apartment barely crossed my mind anymore. Until one night at 2:43 a.m., my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Motion detected. Half asleep, I reached for my phone, ready to swipe it away. Then I saw the location name, my old address. I sat up immediately. I hadn't opened that app since I moved. I tapped the notification. The video was 10 seconds long. It showed my old bedroom. Empty, no bed, no dresser, no boxes. Just bare carpet and the faint orange glow of the street light outside, shining through the blinds exactly the way it used to. The camera angle was unchanged. The timestamp said the clip had been recorded less than a minute earlier. My first reaction wasn't fear. It was confusion. Someone must have plugged the camera back in. That was the only explanation that made sense. But the room didn't look disturbed. No footprints, no trash, no sign of anyone moving in or out. I replayed the clip over and over, waiting for something obvious to appear. Nothing did. I didn't sleep much after that. The next morning, I checked the apartment's online portal. The unit was still listed as vacant. I emailed the leasing office and asked if anyone had accessed my old apartment overnight. Maintenance, inspections, anything. They replied a few hours later. No one had entered the unit. That night, I left the app open on my phone. I wanted to see what triggered the alert. At 3:04 a.m., another notification came through. The clip looked almost identical to the first one. Same room, same lighting. But when I watched it closely, I noticed the blinds moved slightly. Not like wind, more like something had passed in front of them. At 3:17 a.m., it happened again. Another alert. This time the clip showed a shadow near the doorway. It didn't cross the floor. It didn't move across the wall. It just appeared and disappeared. I checked the timestamps. All the alerts were happening between 3 a.m. and 3:20 a.m. every night. Always brief, always subtle. I started checking the app before bed. Some nights there were no alerts at all. Other nights there were several. Once, the camera recorded motion when the room was completely dark. No street light, no visible movement. But the clip still triggered. Another night, the doorway appeared darker than the rest of the room, like something was standing just out of frame. I told myself it was lighting, shadows, glitches, but I stopped sleeping with my phone face down. The night I called the police, about 10 days in, the alerts changed. That night, my phone buzzed repeatedly, 3 times in less than a minute. I opened the app immediately. The first clip showed the familiar shadow near the doorway, but this time it didn't disappear. It bent. That's the only way I can describe it. The dark shape near the door folded inward on itself, like a reflection warping in broken glass. The motion detection triggered again and again. Each clip showed the shadow in a slightly different position, lower, compressed, distorted, as if whatever was there was struggling to stay upright. Not thrashing, not dramatic, just wrong. Like a body trying to exist in a space that wouldn't allow it. Then the live feed turned on. The shadow was still there. It wasn't shaped like a person anymore. It looked collapsed, pressed against the wall near the doorway. I stared at my phone, heart racing, trying to understand what I was seeing. That's when I realized something else. The shadow wasn't reacting to the room. It was reacting to the camera. Each time the red recording light came on, the shape shifted slightly, like it knew it was being watched. That's when I called the police. I didn't say anything about ghosts or shadows. I told them there was Buddha's motion inside an apartment that was supposed to be vacant. I said I was concerned someone might be hurt. They told me they'd send an officer to check. I watched the live feed the entire time. About 12 minutes later, red and blue lights flashed through the blinds. The shadow disappeared instantly. The live feed showed 2 officers entering the room. They walked through slowly, checking the corners, the closet, the bathroom. One of them stood directly where the shadow had been. Nothing happened. A few minutes later, I got a call. They told me the apartment was empty. No signs of forced entry, no one inside. No indication anyone had been there recently. Before hanging up, the officer asked me one question. "Are you sure you moved out of this unit?" I didn't sleep at all that night. A few days later, the live feed turned on by itself. No alert, no sound. I noticed because my phone screen lit up on the nightstand. When I picked it up, the app was already open, streaming. The room looked darker than usual. The streetlight outside flickered, stretching long, uneven shadows across the carpet. For a while, nothing happened. Then something shifted near the doorway. Not a step, more like someone leaning into the frame and stopping. A tall figure stepped just inside the room. They weren't facing the camera, they were facing the wall, completely still. I whispered, "Hello?" I don't know why. The figure didn't react. After nearly 30 seconds, the screen went black. The app crashed. The next day I called the leasing office again. I explained everything. There was a long pause on the line. Then the woman asked me to repeat the unit number. When I did, her voice dropped. She told me the locks had been changed after I moved out. The unit had been sealed. No maintenance access, no showings, no logged entries. No one had been inside. That night, I tried to remove the camera from my account. I opened the app, selected the device, and tapped Remove Camera. A message appeared. "Device currently active. Please try again later." Before I could react, another alert appeared. Motion detected. The live feed opened automatically. The camera angle was wrong. Lower. Tilted upward. It wasn't mounted in the corner anymore. It was sitting on the floor. The view showed carpet fibers close to the lens and a pair of bare feet standing inches away. They didn't move. Slowly, the camera was lifted. The room rose into view. Then, a face filled the screen. Pale, unblinking, eyes locked directly on the lens. On me. The mouth moved. There was no sound. But I could read the words. I'm certain it said, "Why did you leave?" The feed cut out. The app logged me out. I deleted the account the next morning, changed my passwords, and uninstalled the app. I told myself it was over. 2 weeks later, I got an email from the cloud service. Your storage is almost full. There was a single thumbnail attached. It showed my old bedroom. The camera was mounted back in the corner, pointed at the doorway. Someone was sitting on the floor, facing the camera, waiting,